Thank you very much to the Rwandan government for inviting me here. And I see amongst the audience some old friends. I greet them. I would like to take this conference a little closer to the stock exchange. I'm a stock exchange kid, as it were. At the earliest age, when I passed 18, I walked on a stock exchange floor in Manila. It's one of the old stock exchanges of Asia. And I have been in this business for some time. But I want to introduce a concept and a word. The word is empathy. I know that people often associate stock exchanges with money and these days with greed. That is true. It is when we started, I'm an economist, and economists have a tendency to sort of take over the world. If there's any economic institution running, we say, it's economics in action. It may not be. And so we have associated the capital markets, the stock exchanges, with greed and with money, the desire for money. I don't say that it does not exist, but increasingly, I think the greater power in this world is empathy. It has been proven beyond all doubt. If you just look up the internet, the web, especially RSA, the Royal Society of Arts, there are some very nice presentations about empathy. And the sort of thrust of it all is that empathy is a power far greater than greed or money. It has been proven by neuroscience and medical tests and all kinds of scientific journals and articles that empathy is a much greater power. I have seen it myself in Sri Lanka when the tsunami struck in, forgotten now, 2004. All of us, we heard about the tsunami in the morning, about 9 or 10 o'clock. I really didn't believe it. And I went to the seaside to take a look myself. And it was only about 4 o'clock when my wife and I went to the supermarket. We heard that the major TV channels were organizing convoys to the affected area to buy some foodstuffs to put there. And the shelves were bare. The entire middle class of Colombo had gone and purchased food with our own money, that is tax paid, income tax paid money, paying sales tax, paying import duty. We bought the food, sent it there, deed was done. It took about 3 weeks for Oxfam and the major international NGOs to come in and demand no taxation, no duties, and so on. But empathy, you see, was what acted. And that empathic feeling, it is not actually sympathy, nor is it love. No, these are involved in it, but empathy is a very, very powerful force. And here in Africa, all of you, I'm sure, are very, very empathic. And if you have run anything at all, you can't run anything, run an office or even a large family without having empathy and utilizing empathy. We have heard people say that there are people without homes. If I say I don't have a home, I immediately draw empathy. And in fact, that happens. We have heard yesterday people saying, someone says some people have no homes, they are slum dwellers. Others say, give them homes. Politicians say, we must build them homes. These are empathic reactions. And it is the harnessing of empathy rather than the harnessing of greed and money that I think is the stock exchange of the future. Actually, before I started this project, I was seated at home. I was not married at the time, and reading the newspaper, and my domestic young boy, he asked me, Doctor, are you going to barbecue? It was full of pictures of houses and advertisements. And then suddenly I realized that this newspaper is really addressing me, the middle class citizen. The articles are for me, the editorial is for me, the information is for me, and even the maximum amount of advertising, which is of houses, is for me, not for my domestic care, who will actually never ever in his life earn enough to buy any of these homes, or even any home in an urban area. And that actually is increasingly the case, because under globalization, businesses have more opportunities and business owners, but the rest of us are competing more and more. So that in our modern globalized world, we have lots of people, especially in cities and urban areas, who under the current state of things are never ever going to be able to buy their home, because that's just in the nature of costs. Now, at this point, if you are from the stock exchange or stock markets, a certain insight ought to come to you. The insight is, now, why is this the case? Why is it, now I'm in a teeming city of 3 million people, maybe 300,000 of us can buy houses, or maybe a little bit more, but not the majority. Why is that? The answer should come to you right away. It means the capital market, the stock exchange is not working. Banks may be working, but the stock exchange is not, because the stock exchange must provide investment. And this is the largest investment. It's a well-established fact across centuries that where there are data collected, that the largest part of investment is not inventories, it is fixed investment, and the largest part of fixed investment is dwellings. But now we are not delivering dwellings. So the next step to take is, if you're a thinking fellow, you ought to do a bit of research. So I sent about 60 students to look around these areas. They didn't really want to, but we found some interesting facts, which I have now seen are very common, and it is true all over the developing world. I usually say this in reference to India. People think that India is heavily populated. And if you drive a car in India, you can just about barely miss people, and you might hit an elephant. All kinds of people, things are on the road. So you feel that this is densely populated. Actually, it is not. It is poorly planned. And even the roads are poorly planned. Because what we discovered is that the average slum, the slum household, occupies 2.18 perches, about 650 square feet of land. Now, I can build homes for the super rich using as ground cover only about 150 square feet. In Singapore, it's down to about 80 square feet. So actually, I can give all these people who are occupying these slum areas that look horrible. I will show a video after I talk which shows some of our slum people. In the tropics, it's very difficult to show the desperate situation of slums because there is sunshine and greenery. And the people want to smile. If you take a photograph, they're all smiling. And they don't show that desperation. But it is desperate, and the homes could be built for them with a tremendous liberation of land. So 650, I need only 150 even for luxury housing, so I'm liberating 500 square feet. So that actually is the secret. And then I had it as to how I'm going to do a stock exchange. There's no need to invent things if it is not necessary. So there's a well-established instrument called the Real Estate Investment Trust. Actually, if you're a rich person, you ought to have real estate investment or just real estate trust. And that is the best way of doing any kind of housing development. But I make it a social one. And I ask the communities to come, that is the empathy, into my social REIT. So the people have to come. And in fact, there is our trading flow in our stock exchange. The first trade is the slum dwellers. You can see them, they're sort of dressed up well. When a person from the slum dresses up well, doesn't look like a slum dweller, but they come, the entire household. If this house is occupied by 18 people, all 18 come and get only one flat. If it's occupied by 2, then one flat for 2. I'm not at church, I'm not in charity. That's how it goes. And people come, they understand the system very well. So now I have a trust, a real estate investment trust, and some people who are putting their land, because I had to talk to the government to allow that. Now I have a trust with land, and beautiful land, unencumbered, because the encumbered people have come into the scheme. I have first-class security here. So I can sell the shares. Certificates from that trust, who are the only beneficial owners of the trust, and now I'm ready to launch. But should I launch into greed? Should I give way to the speculator? That's a tough one. So I say no. As I have a first-class certificate, I will list it on the stock exchange, and so as to have some curb on this whole thing, and also to make our people, the slum dwellers who are coming in, understand this whole process. Your certificate entitles you to a home. So it's very easy to value. You don't have to go to all kinds of analysts and so on. You see the building coming up, or the buildings, and you get an idea of how much a flat costs in this area per square foot. There is your valuation right there on your shares. Now, the great problem in the stock market is that everybody wants to invest. There are little wary of companies because prices go up and down, and there's a myth around, maybe it's true, that land and property is a good investment. But how can you invest in property? You have to buy a house. That's a big lump sum. You have to create an investment where you can invest as normally, the way you buy shares. So I issue lots of shares, but on the day I call, you must have enough shares for a flat, and there is some trading around it. So there you are. I have created a land. We have, and actually that's the results. The whole investment for our first building was roughly $6 million, and the net land value realized was $17 million, achieved across 18 months. So far, but when real money was starting to come out, they started to interfere. So rather than have the entire, I couldn't have, I had been demanding land for some time, and I asked for about 35 acres. Finally, they came and landed 11 acres on me. And it's really because I went before the president. She said, come and, give a talk. I asked her, the secretariat, how many can I bring along? They said about 5 or 6. But I knew she had a room that accommodated about 180. I took 175. Of the 175, 150 were totally against me. But they had the opportunity to talk. So they didn't oppose me fully. So the president allowed it. But it appeared a mystery. So it was all right. So in order to put them also on the asset ladder, financial asset ladder, as I had to now sell the liberated land, I placed, flats have to be in condos. So as the common area of the condominium, I placed the ground floor and the mezzanine for shops. So you will see in the video later, there is a bank, there are plenty of grocery stores, hardware stores, who have come in. Now, these are prime because you have 4,000 people living above you who are going to come as customers. And what is most amazing, now this is part of the condominium property, and the people understand that very well. That rental that these people pay maintains the building. So there is no graffiti, there's no robbery, there are no problems. And the shopkeepers and the bank came in also because they wanted it. There are no guns on the table, everybody did it voluntarily. What is most surprising to me, I was, this was sort of a bitter fight to get this all going, so I didn't think about it. My officers told me, all the children are going to school. Now, in our country, children going to school wear white uniforms, so it's like cotton coming out of the building. All these children going to school. Now, I was given the worst area, as I told you, and it's an area full of, in our country, we have gun runners, drug dealers, all those people. And my officer said, no, one fellow said, I want life insurance to go into that area. There is no such thing, you come with me. And but the people I could also see were the real hard nut toughs. They all came in on the scheme, and I told them, all of you in this block come in or none. If you have a dispute, I'll set up a tribunal under a gazette, and I did, for serious disputes. But otherwise, everyone comes in, you trade your old house for a new house, like in the Aladdin story. And people understood it. The amazing thing that happened is that once they got the flat and moved in, and you can see a bit of a clip of when some Thai visitors went there many years after people had moved in, the women and children took over. So the man may still be a drug dealer, but he doesn't bring that business near the house because the women and children have gained respectability, a good address in a nice building in the heart of the city. So it is now regenerated, and any hard radicals will be disappointed. These regenerated slum dwellers are utterly middle-class conservatives. So they have a fund derived from all this income. And I told them, well, what are you doing to this fund? No, we are going to use only the interest. There's money coming in every year, but I'm very conservative about it. And one of the fathers once told me that he's very happy because now when his daughter goes to the toilet, he's not worried because he's inside their own home. The mothers told me for the first time they are able to cook what they like. Otherwise it was communal cooking and then there are a lot of jealousy and so on. So children are studying. So the enormous transformation of people, and the area is not recognizable. Now, in fact, some of the liberated land, various groups of professionals wanted to buy. And I told the people in our building, of course, please do sell and go away. But nobody will. But one or two did sell, and that established a price. So the price ended up at $2 million. That is about, maybe at that time, $20,000 or $25,000. Now, a person at that level could work his entire life and never save $20,000. It's impossible. But now that came to them and made them into good citizens, regenerated the neighborhood, and it was all done voluntarily. The insight is the stock exchange was not doing its part. And once we got it doing it, then you see that's the before and after situation. There is a video, they will put it on once you go into questions and answers. Well, I ask all of you to think a little bit. Most of you, I think, would not have come across empathy and social entrepreneurship and that sort of thing, but your children or grandchildren would have. Normally, I give talks actually to people not of your distinguished category or age, My normal audience ranges from 12 to 25. And they understand this instantly. And I was noticing you constantly talk about the government and the private sector. There's a very large sector you missed out, which is the citizen sector or social sector. And these ideas and these developments come from them. It's not something abstract. I had a project in Varanasi, in India. The first great social entrepreneur, Drayton, is of course in America, is the person associated with this subject. But Drayton himself saw Vinoba Bhave. Vinoba Bhave was a man who walked. He walked all over India and people just donated land. I didn't realize this until when I went and we had a project. That's our building, by the way, and that's the ground floor has the shops. It's a tall building. And I'm sorry for the blurred picture, but I have to say, slum dwellers are used to this kind of thing. Have a blurred picture of themselves. There are lifts, the lifts work. They have assigned the lifts themselves so that not all 6 work all the time. All the lifts work only at peak hours. You can see the inside of the house. I gave some talks, but basically the people chose the design. I invited lots of people. I had the audiences of about thousands sometimes of designers, construction companies. They made proposals, and the people chose one. Once people move in, a slum dweller or a poor person in a city will always have some means of income. You may like the means or you may dislike the means, but they have the income. And while it costs me a lot of money to tile my house, poor people will tile their houses very fast and easily because they work together, they use offcuts and things like that. The strangest thing to me was once people moved into the flats, the first thing they wanted is security. Now, other people have told me they need security against them. So I told them that. But they said, we need security also. So they put up grills and things like that. You see, everybody has a common goal. Everyone likes to have a house, likes to have their own dining table, their own kitchen, their own toilets, and so on. And really, you should think about it, just because the man has committed murder, I don't know, has done some terrible thing, why should we penalize the wife and children? Let the whole household have a decent life. Not at a very high level, but still a decent life, and not like these slums and homeless people that you find all over. Well, that will keep on going. I'm very happy to answer any questions. I'm sure you have plenty of questions. Yeah.
So if Anjali and then Britt, I think a follow-up question too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's fascinating to hear how this worked in Colombo. My question is around to what extent does this work across other slums in major cities? I was specifically thinking of Dharavi in India. You made a couple of comments about India. And in a place like Dharavi where the slum is not only a place to live, but has a huge network of micro-enterprises that only work well, I shouldn't say that, tend to work because of the way the slum is set up. And just curious how the model could be tweaked or what your views are on implementing this in other places.
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of people ask me whether I have a template, whether I have something that can be scaled up and down, and so on. I dislike to answer that question that way, because that is actually the old style of doing things, the management consultants way. The social entrepreneur way is you give some principles and you apply them in each situation, and you maybe even modify them. the gentleman from the IFC, and in fact, treasurer may be very happy to hear, when I started in Varanasi, generally people understand this, you see, because it is their plight and they understand it very well. So I told my colleagues there, my colleagues were much younger, about half my age, and they were from background of rushing onto the street with placards and banners. So I said, one of the things you'll never see me doing is rushing on the street with a banner. One of the first things I had to do, because all of them organized themselves, and they had a big parade going through the town, and you will be happy to see that the placards that they were carrying were, "We want our stock exchange." But you see, it is true. And people respond very well. In Manila, the leading developer, Ayala Corporation, agreed to do something. There were government changes, so it didn't really work out. But we started, and I got it. Most of these countries have some high-level body, either the vice president or presidential level, that approves the types of schemes you can do in cities regarding regeneration. So I got it past them, and then I said, well, let's go to a slum. There must have been 6,000 employees in that corporation. None of them would come because they thought that they would be beaten up. But I told them, actually, there's no such problem. When I was in Nairobi, actually, for UN Habitat, and UN Habitat actually took this up, and they even gave me an award, they were saying lots of things about Kibera. They said that it's the largest and worst slum in the world. I don't believe it. And they said various disparaging things about people there, which I certainly didn't believe. So I said, look, we'll go and we'll take a look. You said, no, we have commissioned a survey. So never mind the survey. Why don't you come and take a look? I just down the street. Well, they have gone to a corner of Nairobi that is exclusive. So anyway, we went. And my wife and young daughter were with me. What am I to do? Leave them in the hotel? So all three of us went with some other friends. Everybody scolded me for taking wife and child, but I actually parked them in the magistrate's house, which is in the middle of the slum, the courts. And we walked around. Now, that actually is a capitalist slum. And the poor people there, they charge you, even for walking on down their little lane. So when they say there are no toilets in Kibera, that is no public toilets. Private toilets, if you pay, yes, there are, which is what I wanted to photograph and show you in Habitat, that what they are saying is wrong. So but one thing I realized is that this is a common culture. In Latin America, it's a little different, because in Latin America, they put the slums where the rich people should be, which is on the hill. So and the rich people are down. There are, as an economist, there is a very strange thing, which is that, supposing you come into a city, and this is how it normally happens, and you're looking for a job or just got a job, wife and family also, then you look around, can't afford any of the places that are formally there. You go to some fellow and say, no, I want a place there. Say, yes. And you immediately go and put up a lean-to. You go in there, he charges rent. That rent is the same in Colombo, in Manila, in Rio de Janeiro, and everywhere. Very strange phenomenon. And also the smell is the same. You go around there, you don't have to change your shirt, because at each time the shirt stinks the same way. So it is because, again, the same facilities are lacking. And the life, and in the music is also the same. The music is that brassy, hard music. The strange thing happened in Colombo, because I told some of the musicians in the slum, come, there was somebody organizing an all-India music festival. Come and why don't you sing at that? I called them to my house. And the person, I just invited somebody, it was a mistake, I invited the bishop. So the bishop also came and his wife. So these fellows, the singers, they were dumb. So I said, now come, give the slum music. Then they gave some high artistic music. I said, what happened to slum? No, how can we use dirty language before the bishop and the bishop's wife? So but the thing is, actually, slum music is universal. And it is actually the same beat. It comes in, the cultural angle is a little different. So it is a common culture. So we should actually be able to have a common solution. And I'm very happy for this opportunity to try to get this idea at the capital markets level, because that is the problem. It is, capital is not flowing where it naturally should be flowing, and where there are easy methods of getting it to flow. So well, I've taken too long on one question. There must be others who want to.
Britt, I know you have a question for Darren. And Darren, just a brief and concise answer, if I may.
Yeah, sorry. No, earlier I had the clock. Now for these questions, I don't have a clock.
So I have lots of comments. First of all, Darren, this looks like a great model, and I think Habitat stole this actually, and did a version of it in Accra with the same idea of aggregating parcels, putting up a building that has commerce in the first couple floors. So I congratulate you. It looks like a tremendous building and a tremendous achievement. One of the big issues I heard about the Accra experience was trust, and we talked a lot about trust yesterday. But getting people together, explaining the scheme, as you're saying, isn't that difficult, but getting people to commit their parcels and to believe that they'll get this building at some point in the future was one of the big challenges. And I'm just curious about how you overcame that in the project that you put together.
No, poor people understand these very well and easily. And I didn't come in as a government scheme, I came in as myself, and I got other people to do it. And that is the problem. First of all, you must never get the government in, because people are used to demanding things from the government, and they will demand the moon. So you just say, what I told them is, if your father or grandfather or whoever first came into this slum got a good spot, then you'll get a good house. If your grandfather didn't have much foresight and he took a bad spot, you'll get a bad house. But you will get a house. And that people understand. And that's why it's called an exchange. And that's why I really push the idea of the stock exchange, because then it is not government or aid agency or anybody like that who is doing it. This is, you are exchanging something of yours for something that you're being offered. And you have the perfect right to choose. That is very, very important. Because if you choose, and by your choice you have a house and a place, then you protect it. And you protect the neighborhood. Right after we had done this, it took some time for the land issues to be solved. My mother, who was then alive and was living in England, visited me. And I thought, these are liberated land. So she wanted to take a photograph. And I stood in front of the land, and she was taking the photograph. Some ruffian came up and said, "Don't you dare look at our land," because he was guarding the land. So no, people, that's why I say you must start with empathy. And if you build up with empathy, the people are with you. My biggest difficulty are bankers, because bankers already have a method of handling land and which is profitable to them. And with developers. So developers told me before we started, doctor, good idea, but if you drive your car near where you're proposing to area, you go and you come back, no wheel. If you go and you come back, wipers gone. So I said, no, that's actually not true. In fact, our area is the safest area in Colombo. So there are lots of myths, but you just stick to the core item, which is we are in this to utilize empathy and create more. Never mind the money, though actually there's a lot of money in it. And let us try to deliver. Then it's successful.